Welcome to your daily dose of theological German. We are on the 15th and final installment of our work on this book here, the Cult Theology of the Letter to the Hebrews. And as has been the case on some past series, when I get to the last one, I actually just do several sentences to try to finish whatever paragraph we're on and to just start getting quickly through more German with less detailed commentary, etc. So that's what we're going to try to do today. So buckle up. So the first sentence is kind of interesting because the subject is way at the end, and it's here. Light falls also on the words in the blood of Christ in verse 19. It's kind of a wooden expression to say light falls. In English, we would say light is shed, which would have to end up being in the passive voice in English in order to work properly. But that's okay. It's basically the same idea. So light is shed on the words in the blood of Christ, or of Jesus also. And that's in addition to the light that was shed on other things in the previous sentences that we've been covering. Here you have a classic zoo construction. I don't know why I always call them classic. I don't know what's so classic about them, but anyways, it's a zoo construction. Normally you have a Sein verb with a zoo construction at the end of the clause, but here the zoo construction is actually put up front, which is perfectly permissible, but you want to handle it kind of the same way, and so you'll have to supply a kind of a subject and say something like, it is to be thought. Zoo constructions often have to be put in the passive voice in English, so you could say, it is to be thought, or you could just nuance it and say, we should think, or one should think, or something like that. So let's do that. One should think of or about the reference or the mention of the blood of Christ in the setting or the frame of the typologies of 9:13 following and 12:24. I want to point out one thing really quickly. This here, you might wonder what's going on with that morphology, Christi. That's actually basically taking the Latin genitive and then incorporating it, I don't want to say as a loan word, but maybe as a loan morpheme, into German, because that's not any recognizable genitive ending in German, but in theological discourse often you'll have these kind of Latinizations, and so that's actually how you would make the genitive in Latin, and that's why it's showing up that way, the blood of Christ. So in German you would just know that because it happens often enough that it's still a form of the genitive in German, but it's borrowed from Latin. So then you have the blood of Christ is also in view here as a cleaning agent. That's kind of a, I don't know how else to translate that. I mean, if you look it up in the dictionary, that's basically the only option it gives you, a cleaning agent, which I guess is what it is, but it's not supposed to be like, Windex or something. Nevertheless. Then we have a relative clause, which is going to be subordinate, and so here we have the relative pronoun here, das, which will translate as which. It's picking up here the blood of Christ. So the blood of Christ is also here in view as a cleaning agent, which, analogous to the cleansing / sprinkling water from Numbers 19. Okay, so that's an offset phrase, which is why there's commas around that. So which, analogous to the water in Numbers 19. And then because this is a relative clause, the verb is at the end. Okay, so opens up the way to the sanctuary or the shrine or sanctuary area or however you want to render that word, but something to do with the kind of like holy space. And in fact, through the sprinkling of the heart mentioned in verse 22, there we have one of those heavily modified nouns. And this is kind of just a half clause that's picked up and kind of added to this opened. So it's opened by this cleaning agent, which is the blood of Christ, analogous to the water in Numbers 19. And in fact, it's through the sprinkling of the heart with the blood of Christ that it is opened. Now, in this last sentence, the subject is going to be plural, as you can tell from the verb here, being a plural verb. And so that's fine. There's a list of things that are the subject of that verb, but there's a prepositional phrase there in the meantime, so the subject is a bit later. Well, you'll see how it all gets pieced together, but we'll just try to make it clear. Thus, in Hebrews 10:22, the way, or you might say access, I said the way earlier for this word, but you could say access to the heavenly sanctuary, new covenant, that's the second item on the list here as part of the subject, and purification as forgiveness of sins, all those things come together. They come together in Hebrews 10:22. So that's it. That's our last work on this particular author. As always, if you have suggestions for other authors you would like to see us cover, let me know. Otherwise, I'll be heading back to some more excerpts from Ziefle's Graded Theological Reader. Until then, have fun with German. As always, thank you for watching, and do please like and subscribe and share. In other words, there's buttons there. Just click on them, please. It helps. Every click helps.